Aishu Hebiko にドーンと頼っちゃっていいからね。銃刀の術ヘビコスペシャルタコスミの海。
What's happening, fellas? It's your boy Hardcore, and we're taking a look at our newest character in Action Taimanin, Aishu Hebiko. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe for more. Now let's get into it. Hebiko over here is an assist-type character with a human racial attribute, and unfortunately, with her ultimate, she cannot transform into her demon form and use her full-on tentacles to the most of her ability. However, she integrates them into her abilities for the most part. Now let's take a look at some of her stats. These are her stats at 81. She has 5992 HP, 3290 attack, 4480 defense, and 4802 crit. At 81, this level of crit is the same as that of Sakura's. So she's going to crit all the time, even without Magatama or supporter assistance. So you can bet on her to do this. Now everything else though is not so great. She has a ton of health. Like, this is almost comparable to Astaroth. In fact, Astaroth is the only higher level HP in terms of this. She also has probably the lowest attack in the game at this point, because 3290 at 81 puts her below Emily, so you need to just bolster her stats in terms of attack with everything you've got. Defense, it puts her about in the middle of the pack. It's, I think, just average or below average defense, so it's nothing to really write home about. In terms of weapons, she rounds out the alternate trio and shares weapons with Sakura. If you've been holding on to your gear after all this time or really enjoy Sakura, Hebiko will be right at home for you. However, many of Sakura's staple weapons won't work, but the Sanguine Spiral does with Hebiko. Honestly, that's all you really need for her. Hebiko has her gacha signature, Scylla, which is a crit damage passive and poison damage active. She continues the trend of character package exclusive weapons with the Fuma Ninja Dagger. Scylla is a welcome weapon because crit damage is always great, not to mention the ability to inflict a long-lasting poison. Fuma Ninja Dagger is strong with its skill damage boost chance, but also prohibitively expensive. The shared Momochi weapon Garukiba and Sanguine Spiral continue to be strong solutions for all content. You can also make use of the Butterfly Blade as well, due to the fact it's an all sort of weapon, and if you need stats, you always have your arena weapons. Here's a special note regarding costumes. Any attack that she uses tentacles for from her person is modified by said costume. The default outfit that she gets makes them black, and if their attack's connected to her body, like Octopus Windmill. Other costumes that expose her legs show off the actual flesh-colored tentacles. So this is her default outfit. This is the idol outfit that you get for the Desire Shop. The bathrobe, secret gift, bunny girl, class president. Her rival outfit, Shikanosuke's. Now we move on to skills. To start off, Hebiko has her own special buff called Devil Ink. It gives her stealth, speed boost, and health restoration. Power creep has arrived. Stealth breaks enemy targeting by having her drop a copy of herself at the location she got the buff. Works like Troop Leader Oboro's active skill. The 5% lost HP every half a second is very, very good for spot healing. The buff lasts 3 seconds, or until Hebiko attacks again in any capacity. So, let's now take a look at some of her skills. First up is Octopus Windmill. Windmill is just your circular strike attack and moves her a little bit forward. It's a really solid AoE attack on a decent cooldown. Even without colors behind it, it's worth taking for the speed and coverage it offers. Octopus Choke. On paper it doesn't look so good, but in practice it's actually really effective. The attack itself is meant to be spammed as much as possible. It inflicts the snare debuff on an enemy for 3 seconds and refreshes it with each hit. Enemies just have to touch the tentacle to get the debuff too, so it's good for dropping it on like a crazy robot and his friends to hold them there nearly permanently. With a low activation cost for the effects, it's worth taking in hybrid and specialized builds. Now I move on to her Taimanin art, Octopus. Her Taimanin art changes up her basic attack string completely. It gives her more range since she primarily uses her tentacles to attack rather than her arms when not having the art equipped. It also makes her do more damage and give a really fun flourish finish. Lots of tracking too. If you have the 4th skill slot, you can take this all the time and be just fine. Pulling Tentacle. This works like any other sort of bringer attack. She says get over here and brings them over to her. The modifier with enemies that are in its line of trajectory will pick up anybody that happens to get in between her and the target during the casting animation. This is more or less for PvP with 2 sets of immobilizing debuffs. Octopus Sever is another dash and slash attack. It's fast, it's spammable, and gives buffs in all 3 colors. It's a very solid skill. Speed in green and damage in red are nice and all, but the ability to give Hebiko Devil Ink extremely often is very strong. In fact, it renders green almost redundant because Devil Ink has speed built into it already. If you're running green though, it makes her that much faster. Octopus Slicer is a very fast multi-hit attack. It gets even faster with the fact that it applies a speed buff the moment it's casted. It auto-corrects on kill and even has super armor to make sure she gets off the entire attack. The attack is strong, but shares the same problem that Saika has with having to complete the entire animation on a long, powerful attack. Hebiko has the remedy of a speed buff, but this skill still requires a lot of commitment, which is why Sanguine Slasher works so well because Hebiko can just trade during the entire usage of the skill. Now on to Octopus Ink Spread. Ink Spread's a counter-attacking skill. She blasts a shotgun spread of ink at the enemy that just hit her and possibly more around it. Red and green are alright, but you're still stuck in the casting animation, which presents other dangers. The blue version giving Devil Ink actually makes this into an extremely strong escape skill. This is due to it activating the instant the cast begins, which allows for her to escape and heal from damage. Gold standard right here for her counter-attacking skills. Over here is Octopus Field. Field's a super strong skill. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. Easy activation, applies slow in an area, does damage, and gives Devil Ink. It demands 3 colors for that buff. However, the cost is worth it as the buff is so good for the player. On many occasions, there's no reason not to take this. It's effectively Ingrid's Evil Heat Blast, but instead of dealing hellacious damage, it deals low damage but a super strong crowd control tool. Over here is Octopus Ink Bullet. Hebiko turns into a vomit comet and propels herself with the ink. You aim the ink over a crowd and it's Flight of the Valkyries. She moves at full speed during the entire attack. Applies slow inherently, so it's great for holding an enemy in place. The great weakness of this skill is that she's held in the air the entire time. Anything that has a high hitbox or is a tall enemy, she's going to get knocked out of it. Not to mention, she falls straight down after casting, so you have to account for it or take severe damage. Tentacle Angling is a taunt attack. It affects enemies in the vicinity casted so that they attack the lure. This causes them to be hit by the tentacles lying in wait. It's Devil's Ink stealth attribute, but weaponized. It does exactly what it describes on the tin. The perpetual 20% damage buff is very alluring, because if you're in a 1v1 situation, Hebiko can keep kiting the enemy until her cooldowns come up, and it just so happens to line up with Ink Bullet and many other cooldowns. This is effectively something you want to take when you are in a very bad situation or know you're going to be just turtling for a long time.
Aishu Hebiko, 参上よろしくね。
Good stuff. Now let's conclude on Aishu Hebiko. Good old Hebiko here is like effectively a sequel to Rin. She's incredibly strong on release with little to no flaws, except for the extremely low attack that you have to find an answer to. Not to mention answers to many problems that characters typically have in solo and group content. There's a degree of thought put behind Hebiko because every skill is useful in niche and general scenarios. This adds to her flexibility. She doesn't feel like she's spread too thin on any aspect. In the time I put with her, blue really seems the way to go since she can use Devil's Ink in so many places. That, and it's also the only form of healing she has outside of Sanguine Slasher's passive. Without Slasher though, she has to play more passively until she can get big damage cascades off. Even then, waiting isn't hard since many of her skills are so low. She's Sakura crits without the problems, and Rin versatility without being blinded by sex. If you liked her in RPGX and also Action Taimanin, she finally gets the treatment she deserves. She's good. The kind of good you feel great about knowing they didn't gimp her in some way or give her an awful gimmick. You go get her. You go get her and you don't regret it because she's so good now. I'm very glad that they finally just said, we're not going to make a very fan favorite character terrible. But if you liked her and you think you really will enjoy her, go get her. I won't blame you. Nobody will, because that's your decision in the very end. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. If you learned something about Aishu Hebiko and you want to get her yourself or you just like Taimanins in the first place, make sure you like and subscribe for more content about this so we can discuss more Taimanins and you get more content in general. Love you guys, and as always, I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.